What's good, Steeler Nation? My name is Jack Sperry, and this is Steelers Talk. Thanks for spending part of your Tuesday to talk some Steelers football with us. We got some great topics for you today. First, I'm going to be going over the Steelers' path to the playoffs. A certain amount of things need to happen if they're going to make the postseason. I'm going to be breaking down all of it here on the show. Then we're going to get into my weekly preview here of the Ravens game, what the Steelers need to do in order to beat those Ratbirds this week. And then finally, I will be revealing my Week 17 score prediction for this week's Sunday night matchup against the Ravens. It's going to be great, guys, but before we get into today's action, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now. We are on the road to 20K subscribers here at Steelers Talk. We got over 19,000 true Yinzers that are passionate about the Steelers and the black and gold. Very interactive show here on Steelers Talk. We try to involve you guys as much as possible to have your voices heard. We give you daily and free Steelers news and rumors content. We got a bunch of great stuff coming up during the offseason, draft analysis, free agent targets, all these great videos. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now if you want all that stuff, and then also turn on notifications so that you always get notified when we put out new videos. And before we get into today's video, we had a great moment last week when the Steelers beat the Raiders on Christmas Eve. Franco Harris retiring his number. It was a fantastic moment for Steelers fans. But I want to know, what is your favorite moment as a Steelers fan in your lifetime? Let me know right now in the comments section. And without further ado, let's get into today's show. And let's start with the path to the playoffs for the Steelers. Now, 4 specific things need to happen. If all 4 of these things happen, the Steelers end up going to the postseason at 9-8. First, the Steelers need to win out. This one is obvious, right? You got Baltimore, you got Cleveland, you got to finish the season at 9-8. Then the Dolphins need to lose both of their next 2 games. They got 2 divisional games as well against the Patriots and the Jets. They got to lose both of those. And then the Jets need to lose this week against the Seattle Seahawks. That'll be an interesting game to watch this week. And then also the Patriots need to lose Week 18 versus Buffalo. So all these things need to happen. Let's take a look at the AFC playoff picture right now. Pittsburgh is still in the hunt technically, but you look at the playoff picture right now, every single team in the AFC East is in that hunt, and unfortunately for the Steelers, they lost every single one of their games to the teams in the AFC East this year, and it's really going to end up costing them because of that head-to-head tiebreaker. They don't have a single one. They lost all 4 of their matchups this year against the AFC East. They lost to the Patriots in Week 2. Just some really tough losses here, really close losses, right? The Jets 24-20, Miami 16-10 on Sunday Night Football. We remember how painful that one was, and then of course we got shot by the Bills, but there was 3 winnable games there, and the Steelers didn't win a single one of these 4 games, and now they're in a really tough spot because if they tie with any of these teams in terms of record, they don't get that tiebreaker. So they need to finish ahead of both the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots if they're going to make the postseason. And I can't help but feel, guys, because a lot of those big games, Miami, Jets, Patriots, all of those games happened when TJ Watt was out of the lineup with that pectoral injury, right? TJ Watt obviously is a hugely impactful player for the Steelers defense, right? He's strong, he's lean, he's fast, he's a fantastic pass rusher, right? The impact that he has on games is huge, and you're telling me that in those 1-score games where we lost by 3 points, by 4 points, by 6 points, you're telling me that the Steelers wouldn't have won any of those games if TJ Watt was on the field? I mean, just take a look at the impact that TJ Watt has had so far this year, right? 1-6 the Steelers have been without TJ Watt on the field in 2022. That is atrocious. I mean, that just shows you how impactful that he is. And then when you take a look at when he's in the lineup, the Steelers win their games, man. They are 6-2 when TJ Watt is in the ball game this year. I mean, just an absolutely impactful player that just can't be replaced on the Steelers defense, and the Steelers just play better and they win when he's in the lineup. So let me know in the comment section right now, what would the Steelers record be if Watt never got hurt? Now, in my opinion, guys, I think they would be 9-6, 2 more wins. I'm not going to say they had like 3 or 4 or 5 more wins if they didn't have TJ Watt. That's not what I'm saying. I think that they would have a couple more wins, and those wins would have gone a long way to helping the Steelers make the postseason this year, but because he was out for such a long time and the Steelers played so poorly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the Steelers won't be a playoff team this year here in 2022. All right, now let's get into my Week 17 preview for this week's Sunday night matchup, primetime against the Baltimore Ravens. And let's just start with injury report like we always do, right? So Myles Jack, out last week against the Raiders. He's been dealing with a groin injury. He's still dealing with that injury this week, according to Mike Tomlin. Trey Norwood, the safety, left last week's game against the Raiders with a hamstring injury. He is questionable as well. And Terrell Edmunds also missed last week's game against the Raiders with a hamstring. But the good news is that at Mike Tomlin's press conference on Tuesday here, he said that he didn't mention Terrell's name in the injury report. When he was listing all the injured players, Edmunds wasn't on that. So it's looking like Edmunds is on the right track to play this week against the Ravens. And obviously, we'd like to have all of these guys healthy for this week's game. And then you look at the other side here with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is that big question mark, right? Will Lamar Jackson be in the lineup against the Steelers this week? Like they're being really fast and loose with determining whether or not he's going to play. You know, they're kind of keeping that behind the scenes, but they're saying that if he gets cleared, he's going to play, and he was close to playing last week, guys. So my assumption is that he will be in the lineup, but it's still probably around 50-50 shot that he ends up playing. Then you got Calais Campbell, really impactful defensive player. He was out last week with an injury, knee injury, and he didn't practice at all last week, so we'll be monitoring his status as the week goes on. And then also Marcus Peters, one of their starting corners, is questionable with a calf, did not practice last week, did not play last week. So if all three of these guys are out for the Ravens, that will be huge for the Steelers. And then they also have quite a few impact players on the injury report, the Ravens do. Rashad Bateman, their number one wide receiver, out with a foot injury. Devin Duvernay, another one of their receivers, is out with a foot injury, right? Michael Pierce has a bicep tear. He's out for the year. Kyle Fuller, right? The ACL tear that he took, another one of their starting corners here, he's out as well. So it's not looking great on the injury front for the Ravens, which of course is a good thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's take a look back at Week 14 here when the Steelers lost to the Ravens at Acrisure Stadium. A very frustrating game for the black and gold in that one, right? The Ravens, like you had Anthony Brown in at quarterback. Tyler Huntley wasn't playing well, but they had 215 yards rushing, just ran it down the Steelers' throat, and the Steelers couldn't finish drives with touchdowns. Mitch Trubisky had 3 interceptions, and it was just a huge crushing loss that the Steelers would have really liked to have. But here are my keys to victory here for the Steelers to beat the Ravens this week on the road and get their revenge. Number one is stop the damn run, okay? The way the Ravens beat you is they run the ball successfully. So if you take that away from them, they're not going to play well. Let's take a look at what the Steelers' rush defense has done over the past 3 weeks. Obviously, that embarrassing performance against Baltimore with the 215 rush yards at Acrisure Stadium, 5.1 yards per carry when we knew they were going to run the football. That is just straight up embarrassing. But then the next 2 weeks, it seems like Terrell Austin and the Steelers defense has figured it out. 45 rush yards allowed to Carolina, a really good rushing team. Carolina put up over 300 rushing yards against the Lions last week. 45 rush yards, holding them to 45 at home is really tough to do. And then Las Vegas, Josh Jacobs, one of the best, one of the premier running backs in the National Football League, held him to 58 total yards and 3.1 yards per carry. So the Steelers defense, we know they can get it done. It's just a matter of will they. So let me know in the comment section right now. Will the Ravens have over or under 100 rush yards this week when they play the Steelers at M&T Bank Stadium? Type O for over or type U for under. Number 2 on my list here of keys to victory is you got to take away Mark Andrews. Now, the Steelers did a really good job of this in Week 14. 6 targets, only 2 catches, 17 yards, no touchdown. So whatever you did to take him out of the ball game last time, do it again, Steelers. Do it. You got to repeat that same success. You got to repeat that same kind of game plan. You got to stop the run as well. But, stopping Mark Andrews is just as important for the Steelers defense because he's one of the premier pass-catching tight ends in the National Football League. So if he's going out and he's catching 3 touchdowns, the Steelers might not have a shot in this one. So you gotta double team him. You got to bracket him. You got to make sure that you get the right coverage on him so he's not tearing you apart in the pass game. All right, guys, I'm going to be putting up my Kenny Pickett film analysis on my Twitter later today on Tuesday. So check out my Twitter for this week's Kenny Pickett film analysis against the Raiders. It's going to be a good one. It was a great game for Kenny Pickett, I thought, and I can't wait to watch the film and share what I think with you guys. All right, now, you got to finish drives with touchdowns. Now, we saw this last week with Pittsburgh specifically, with the offense against the Raiders. They couldn't finish drives when they got into the Raiders' side of the field. They've had some struggles in the red zone this year. Matt Canada's offensive play calling hasn't been great this year. And in the last game they played against the Ravens, I should say, 2 for 4 in the red zone. So they had a couple of picks, right? Mitchell Trubisky threw some picks in the Ravens' side of the field, but they did get 2 touchdowns. So, I want to see more of that consistency. I want to see more of that more touchdowns. I want to see more passes to George Pickens. I want to see more passes to Pat Freiermuth. This season, guys, the Steelers have been about league average in the red zone, 53.3% in the red zone. They get a touchdown, so that's over 50%, so it's not terrible, right? It's tied for 17th, but they need to get Pickens and Freiermuth, their big bodies, more involved. There's too many passes that are going to Deontay Johnson, a smaller, non-handsy type receiver in the red zone, and it just needs to be going more towards Freiermuth, who's a big body and has great hands and is a great route runner. Same thing with Pickens. We've seen some of the crazy catches that he's made this year. He needs to be more involved in that game planning in the red area, in my opinion. All right, guys, let me know right now. Predict how many touchdowns the Steelers offense will have this week against the Ravens in Week 17 on Sunday Night Football. All right, now the last key to victory here is that the Steelers need to do what they do against the Ravens quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson has not played well against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career. Now, he's only played about 3 full games against the Steelers, but here are his stats in those games. Under 60% completion percentage, just over 200 yards passing, and then a negative touchdown to interception ratio there of 4-6. So, in my opinion, I think the Steelers do a great job. Mike Tomlin knows the strengths and weaknesses of Lamar Jackson really well. And then if he can't go, it's going to be Tyler Huntley. It's not like he's been very good against the Steelers either, right? 55.8% completion percentage, worse than Lamar Jackson's, right? 229 yards in 2 games. That's just absolutely awful, right? No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We saw what he did in Week 14. He did not look good. The passing game that was non-existent for Baltimore against the Steelers just a couple weeks ago. I expect it's probably going to be about the same this time around. All right, guys, before I share my score prediction for this week, give me your prediction in the comment section for who you think is going to win Pittsburgh versus Baltimore, and then also give me a score total as well. So now it's time for my score prediction, and in my opinion, I think the Steelers are going to win this week by a final score of 27-20. I think that Kenny Pickett is going to have another solid week. I think George Pickens is going to have a couple nice catches in this one. Freiermuth is going to stay involved. I think the defense is going to play well. I think they're going to shut down whoever's at quarterback, whether it's Tyler Huntley or Lamar Jackson. I think the run game for the Ravens might find a little bit of success, but I don't think it'll be enough to get the win. I think the Steelers get their revenge on Sunday Night Football and potentially keep their playoff hopes alive here with a win, 27-20, and we're going to be going into next week against the Browns with Mike Tomlin having an opportunity to get another winning season to his record. All right, guys, we appreciate you here at Steeler Nation. So if you made it to the end of the video and you are a true Yinzer, go in the comment section and type "Here we go" in all caps to let us know that you are here. All right, Yinzers, that'll be it for today's show. My name is Jack Sperry. This has been Steelers Talk, and until next time, peace.